Okay, let's see how this looks inside the software. So I have quick visibility into all the key metrics that I care about at a company level. I care about profitability, my expenses, my revenue. I can obviously see I have a shortfall here and how much relative to revenue. I see I have a related churn problem with one of my service lines. I may want to drill to more detail. I see that the services that fall within that, I have a particular service that's a problem. There's a network experience problem. I have congestion on the network. It's affecting my VIP customers. And because I care though about profitability, I may want to look at the expense side of the house. If I'm managing by exception, I might see things are okay and move on and not look at more detail. But because of this particular area of the business is problematic, I am looking to see that I have specifically overspent in my marketing spend. That may or may not be a problem. If I look at my activations, I've actually overperformed relative to acquiring new customers, but my churn is so high that it's really erasing all of those gains. So let me look into both network experience and more detail behind the churn to really figure out what to do about it. I click, I get more detail. I can see and quantify the trends over time. I can see the current status of my deactivations, my current churn rate, and I can see that my sentiment is actually, as a whole, not so great. And the specific things that I need to correct, it's not a pricing issue as far as what to do about the negative sentiment relating to churn for this given service line, but it's actually the quality of service for some of the services. So let me click and get more detail about those. And I can see this is a problem that's been growing over time for a particular type of congestion. It's affecting specific cell sites in the network, and it's actually being predominantly caused by specific handsets that my VIP customers are using. But I may want to dig deeper outside of what's been managed for me. So here's an example. I may want to take those that are neutral relative to sentiment and try to figure out what to do to make them advocates. Device durability is what those that are neutral need to come over the top to get a little bit more happy. If I look at those that are detractors or antagonists, really it was the service quality that they were most frequently speaking about that they were unhappy with. And I've also used SPSS to do some advanced pattern matching to figure out what are the things that I can look at that are correlating to churn. And it's telling me that there is a strong correlation between sentiment as well as income, price, contract expiration. But this whole dashboard, I might want to look a little bit further, not only at the group of services, but at a specific set of services within that. And I've got pervasive filtering on the dashboard. Network quality jumping to the top of the page now for this particular service. So in an ad hoc mode, I may want to go get new information, bring it in the dashboard. And as an end user without IT intervention, I have the ability to do that. I'm going to go grab a few more widgets that relate to network experience. And I can actually see that my VIPs have a particular issue with a specific handset as well. So this is our blueprint for telecommunications. It is an existing structure designed to do planning by different types of services that you can see on the side here. These are captured by different geographies, by cost center, where in this case we're planning for ARPU and we have different budget scenarios we can change. As I go in and make a change, such as changing the ARPU up to $15 per month for this given service, part of the blueprint is the linkages down to the appropriate destination in the profit and loss statement and reporting. And you can see all of the dependent calculations are updating as well. All the items in blue are what are affected by my changes. I'm going to commit my change and continue on. Part of revenue forecasting is average revenue per user. The other piece is how many customers do you expect to have? So as I go in and make a change, such as I think that I'm going to have a certain amount of churn, I might want to take a look at what SPSS predicts will be my churn and use that as a guideline versus taking a guess. Obviously, human intuition, you know more about the business than historical patterns do, but it's a good guideline to make your commitments more accurate. And now, as I'm making changes, again, you see all the dependent calculations are updating in real time, including the appropriate places on the financial statements. I'll commit my changes and continue forward. So this data entry I'm doing in English right now, I could certainly be doing this in other languages as well. And in addition, as I'm keying in values, the consolidated financial statements in real time can are doing multi-currency translation as well. This is part of the intellectual property that's built into the TM1 template. It is also doing real-time consolidation from different business units as they're being keyed in, regardless of the language they're being keyed in. Continuing on, revenue is part of the forecasting. Expense planning is another element as well. So a complete profit and loss statement has all of the expense line items. I can go in and make a sweeping change, say at a summary level. I'm going to go in and say, let me do a percent change and reduce the budget by 10%. 10% subtraction from the existing values. And it's not only updating the one value, this is a summary value. It's updating all of the individual months proportionately. It's also updating all of the accounts that roll up into that summary value. This is some of the efficiencies in the planning process doing this function called breakback. And finally, we've done revenue, we've done expense planning, and we have capital expenditure planning as well. So as I go in and say, planning for a new maintenance building, say it's going to cost $200,000. I pick the type of item this is, type of capitalized item, and when it goes in service. And now what the system is doing is figuring out depreciation calculations and then putting that, and it will also flow automatically through to the appropriate place in the financial statements. You can see all of the depreciation calculations now are updating in real time as well. So this is how we plan for those smarter networks. So to close the loop on how we transform operations, we're constantly comparing actual versus budget, whether it's in the financial side, whether it's more operational in nature, such as a churn target that we're trying to hit. Whenever we have color in a dashboard, it's typically from a target that's been either exceeded or hit. And TM1 is a great application for capturing those targets pervasively throughout the enterprise.